Hello.
Hi,
Hi.
my name's Angie.
Jay.
Jay, nice to meet you, Jay.
Nice to meet you.
Oh, so how are you doing today?
I'm alright.
Yeah? Okay. Well, I'm just going to be taking some notes as part of our session today.
Okay.
This is an hour-long session, so I just want you to know that you are free to speak and talk about whatever you need to talk about. This is a confidential session. The notes that I will be taking are just so that we have record in our office of your treatment and a record of the session for today. I also do want you to know that everything that we talk about and I record here today is completely confidential.
Okay.
I do have to let you know if there is a danger to yourself or others, I do have to report that. But other than that, please feel free to speak about anything you need to talk about.
Okay.
Okay? So, what is a typical week for you? What does it look like?
It's pretty much work. I mean, Monday through Friday, I pretty much work, I get out, and for the most part, I go home and get some rest or spend time with the family, or if I have plans with my partner.
Okay. So, what do you do?
I work for in a billing department for a hospital. So pretty much like their customer service, help patients understand what they're being billed for as far as their services that they have received at IU Health.
Okay. And so, what is a typical day for you, Jay?
A typical
Like
day.
from the time you wake up to the time you go to sleep.
Pretty much I'm always waking up late. So mornings are pretty rushed. Always trying to get out of my house on time so I can make it to work on time. From there, I'm at work my 8 hours. Believe it or not, I get out of work and you're mentally drained. So most of the times when I get out of work, I kind of just want to go home and lay down. For the most part.
Okay. So, what brings you in today?
Nothing specifically. I mean, I feel like I want to speak to someone in regards to maybe where I find myself now, as far as my situation with my family and my relationship with my siblings, especially with my sexual orientation.
Okay. And so, what in regards to your sexual orientation?
It's really hard for I would say my mother to understand or to take in the fact that that I'm gay, but at the same time, I feel like even though I have that problem right now, at the same time I feel like I'm finding myself in a better place as far as where I'm at with the relationship with my siblings. So it's kind of like a balance feeling right now.
Okay. First of all, I want to say I really appreciate your willingness to share this with a complete stranger. I know that takes a lot of courage to be able to open up about something so sensitive, and especially if you say that you're having issues with this subject in your life. I also hear that your family is very important to you. Is that correct?
That is correct. I feel like we all have been through quite a bit, to where I feel like because of the situations that we have gone through, there had been a tear in the relationship that I had with my siblings. Not just myself with them, but I feel like each and one of us with each other. So I feel like that's definitely becoming better now.
Okay. So who would you say is important in your life?
I would say my mother. My mother is very important in my life, and my siblings, which would include my two brothers and my sister.
Okay. And why is she the most important in your life?
Um, she's a very strict person. When you don't know her, and when you first meet her, to a lot of people she comes off as an angry person or a very serious person, which she's really not. But she's gone through so much that I feel like I could not disrespect that, or I can't find myself not being appreciative to what she's done to for us, and because of that, I feel like we are where we are now.
Okay. So it sounds like to me, your mother is a huge important part in your life, and that's mainly because she's such a strong individual. And even though she comes across as being a maybe hard, closed person, really she's a very sensitive person.
I think she is. I can I can see it when I'm gonna give you an example when when my other siblings or my like one of my brothers and her get into it. Like I've seen her cry before because she got upset with my older brother, or because she got into it with my younger sister. So I know she's very sensitive. But she holds it in. She definitely holds it in a lot. I don't know what type of childhood they had, but I can tell that they were not very affectionate with each other, because she's not very affectionate with us. I don't think that she was very affectionate with us when we were growing up. I mean, she did show us that she loved us in her own way, but it wasn't your typical TV mom where, she's holding the kid or they're leaving the house and saying, "I love you." I mean, it's not like that. It was never like that.
Okay. And what about your relationship with your siblings? How is your relationship with them?
Right now, that I feel like that we're all adults now. We have a different mentality, and it's gotten a lot better. I will say that I feel like I stated before, there was a moment in our lives where that kind of broke off, or it kind of like hurt us in a way. We actually moved to California back in 2001 or 2002. We moved out there to try something new, and I recall my older brother staying behind. That affected my mother a lot, so we decided to come back. But when we came back, I feel like that's when a lot of things changed. Not only did my father did not come back with us, but the relationship that we had with our older brother also also was also was very different.
Okay.
Not only that, but I feel like I had to take on the role of kind of like a dad towards my younger siblings. So I was no longer their brother, and I had to act more as their father. So that relationship obviously changed a lot there too. So I feel like none of us really knew how to take everything. I mean, the fact that my older brother had been on his own, and he was kind of more independent, so he didn't really rely on us anymore. And then my mother is trying to do it on his own, so I'm also trying to help her out by being a parent to my two younger siblings.
Okay. Well, this is what I'm hearing, and please correct me if I'm wrong, that your family sounds like your family is a huge important part in your life. However, you guys sort of didn't grow up as closely as you would have liked to have, and you took on this fatherly role versus being a sibling to your brothers and sisters. Is that correct?
Right.
Okay.
Right. I mean, it's so funny because when I tell people the story, or when I sit down to talk to somebody, I can recall having, before we moved to California, like obviously me and my older brother are some years apart. So as he was growing up, I was still a child. He's a teenager. I'm still probably in elementary school. But I can recall us, rough playing or wrestling, like I remember those moments. But then when I come back, I'm now a teenager, so I'm going through all these mood changes. I'm thinking that I look cool by cussing. Like I remember we just came back, and I remember he said something to me, and it made me mad because I felt like he was trying to discipline me, and I cussed him out, and obviously he didn't like that, and then I remember thinking to myself, why am I acting this way? So it's just, sometimes when your siblings are older than you, you go through different stages. He was now, a more of an adult stage, and now I'm entering into this teenager stage where my mood swings are just all over the place. And at the same time, I in the back of my head, I'm thinking to myself, I need to be an example to my other two brothers, because now I have to try and help them out too.
Yeah. And so when you initially came in, you stated that your sexuality was an issue or a problem for you right now?
I feel like that's an issue right now, only because I do have a relationship, and as I mentioned before, or I don't know if I mentioned it, but two of my siblings are now in a relationship, and they're married, and with child on the way. And, obviously we have these family gatherings, we have these family events or whatever, and then I have my own relationship as well, which is kind of to the side though, because it can be like their relationship where it's part of the family, and because of my mom's not being acceptance to my sexual orientation, that sometimes doesn't cause problems, but I can tell where it causes sort of some arguments sometimes between me and my partner, at the fact that why can they and why can't I, and even though he understands, it sometimes is hard to not be able to bring that person around, or give that person that opportunity to be part of these gatherings as well.
Okay, so what I'm hearing is that you're saying that your partner, or you have a partner now, and he's not able to be a part of the family gatherings or be a part of the family or accepted.
Correct.
As your siblings and their relationship, and mainly it's because of your mother not being able to, or not accepting your partner as your relationship partner. Is that correct? Okay. And so how can I help you with that?
I don't know. I honestly, I just felt like I needed to talk to someone. I mean, there's really not much that you can do. As far as what can you really do, it's something that I don't see my mom accepting anytime soon. She knows about it, obviously, but I don't see her accepting it anytime soon. Not only because of the way she is, because I know that.
Have you tried talking to her about it?
She avoids the subject. Before it was confirmed to her about me. I mean, the way she would speak about people that were gay or lesbian. I mean, it was just very degrading. She would see it on TV, and she would make horrible comments about it. I mean, I have a cousin in Mexico that is also gay, and unfortunately, that because of that, I feel like because of that cousin and his actions and the way that he's been towards the family, she has this mentality as well. I mean, for God's sake, he's tried to poison his parents, my grandma, and it's things like that, and she feels like, oh, it's because he's gay. Oh, he acts that way because he's gay, and she feels like all gay people act the same way. And it started off there, and then when she finally found out about me, obviously the comments stopped, but you can still tell that she's not accepting at it. And I know, because I knew her, and I remember before she went back to church fully. I mean, she would get along with gay people just fine. so I know it's not in her to have anything against people. I sometimes feel like it's the religion too. She is very into her religion and church, and I feel like the religion has kind of made the way of her the way that she thinks now, which I disagree with completely, because if a religion is teaching you to love one another, then why are you not accepting people that are gay? I'm not saying that you should agree with their lifestyle, but you shouldn't hate just because they're different either.
Yeah, and I can appreciate that, and I see how you've handled yourself really well to where you haven't really confronted her, and you've kind of just...
And a lot of people have asked me, well, she's gonna have to accept it. She needs to accept it. You need to just bring it to her, and it's so easy for other people to just put it out that way. And even my partner has said it. I mean, your mother's gonna have to accept you, and it's not that easy though. When going back to what I was mentioning before, when you've seen what your mother has gone through, and you kind of don't want to put another burden on her as to, oh, now you have to accept this person, or now you have to accept this lifestyle. I mean, can I manage? Yeah, I can manage. I mean, I've managed so far. If the person that I'm with feels like they can't handle it, then they're not meant to be with me. But I mean, I can manage. Do I want my mom to accept it? I do, but it's not something that I'm going to force her to do it either. I mean, I wouldn't do that to her.
So what I'm hearing is that your mother is a huge important part in your life, and although you realize that she's not going to accept it, you've also realized that this is potentially maybe causing strain between you and your partner.
It is.
But because your mother is such an important part in your life, you are willing to kind of surpass it and overlook it in a way?
Yeah. I feel like I kind of have to. I think at the same time, because of the fact that I had to move in back with her for the time being, that kind of doesn't help the situation either. But eventually, obviously, I have to move back out on my own, and that kind of helps out ease the tension there. But yes, it does cause problems. But at the same time, I feel like you knew what you were getting yourself into by being with someone that doesn't have family members that were acceptance. Because even then, when I first started dating the person, I mean, my own siblings were not fully aware of my sexual orientation, which they are now. But what I'm trying to say is, you knew the type of family that I had, so I mean, they're gonna have to learn how to deal with that.
Yeah, and like I said before, I really appreciate you opening up. I know it's a very sensitive subject, so I do want to thank you once again for opening up and coming in and talking. It takes a lot of courage to talk about such a sensitive subject. I guess my question is now, on a scale, like a scaling question, this time about how hard you would be willing to maybe try some possibilities on how to solve the issue you're having. Maybe that being with your partner or your family, bettering that relationship. How hard are you willing to try to work to maybe come up with some solutions to maybe alleviate or maybe make it better? And on a scale from 10, which being higher, that you're willing to do anything to come up with a solution, and 0 being you're not willing and don't want to try anything.
I would say that I'm at a 6 or a 7. Obviously, I'm going to do some things to make my relationship better. As far as like eventually having to move out, excuse me. But at the same time, I'm not going to do things that are going to make my mother uncomfortable either. Like I said before, I'm not going to force her to accept something that I know it's not going to happen. Or put another burden on her when she already knows the kind of lifestyle that I have. Like I said, moving out, I think that would help the situation. Maybe I would feel like doing more things maybe with my partner and my siblings would kind of help out the situation. Um, I think that even though he doesn't get the part of my mother being there, he kind of gets the part of having some family members around. I think that would be nice as well.
Okay. Then those are all sound like great suggestions. I think those are all realistic solutions that maybe you would try in the future. And so what would be your, where does your willingness come from in order to try those solutions or even attempt those?
Overall, I think it's like you mentioned at the beginning. My priority is always going to be my family. But because my priority is my family doesn't mean that one of my priorities is not my partner either. But I mean, my family is going to come first in any situation. I feel like in the past maybe I haven't shown that part, or sometimes we don't. We say it, but we don't really show it by our actions. But I can tell you that my family is my number one priority, and then from there everything falls in place. And I feel like that's where my willingness comes in. I mean, I also want to have a good relationship with the person that I'm with, and sometimes it's like spending too much time with your family can become overwhelming. So sometimes I would like for it to be the other way around too. So.
Okay. So it sounds like to me like your willingness again comes from your family being such a strong priority, but also keeping in mind your partner
Yes.
and his needs and what you feel like would kind of balance out your life a little bit more.
Right.
Between him and your family, and him also feeling some comfort within your relationship.
Right.
Okay. Well, those are all sounding like great goals and possibilities that maybe we can talk about in further detail. I just want to ask you a strange question now. Let's just say that while you were sleeping tonight, per se, a miracle were to happen. And a miracle being that the problem that we're discussing today that you're having were to be solved. Would you be able to maybe describe a picture image of what that would look like in your mind if that were to be solved? Maybe like what would be different?
I hate to say it like this because I know that a lot of people in the gay community would look at it as, why would you even think that way? You should accept yourself, yada yada yada. But I can say that sometimes I feel like, or I wish, or I feel like things would be better if I wasn't gay. I feel like I would have a decent wife. I mean, I would love to have children. So I feel like at this point in my life, I would at least have a child already. So I would say that if at this moment I had a dream, then I would say that I would not be gay.
So your miracle picture would be
Being
that
straight.
you just would want to not...
And not that I don't accept myself,
Mm-hmm.
or not that I'm not okay with myself. I mean, I'm okay with myself because this is who I am. I mean, I've tried almost anything possible that they've put out there for me. You know, they've said pray, they say this, they said that. I mean, I've tried it. So this is who I am. So yes, I do accept myself, but at the same time, if you're asking me what would be that miracle, or what would that be that perfect, not perfect, but what would that better life,
Picture,
I would say, better picture, I would say, I would have liked not to be gay.
Okay, and so what would that mean in regards to your relationship with your family, if that were the case?
I think I would have the same relationship that my other siblings have with my family. I mean, they bring their spouse around, and you know, we all have a good time, and I would be able to do the same thing with my spouse. Not only that, I honestly do picture myself sometimes. But what if I was, you know? So yeah, I picture myself sometimes having a wife and having that, you know, that person that takes care of her and having a family. I mean, I think that would be really nice.
Okay. So it sounds like to me, what you're describing is that if this miracle were to happen, you would be accepted by your family,
Right.
regardless of who that partner would be. And that partner would also be accepted equally
Right.
within your family.
Right.
And again, it comes back to, we keep saying, your family being a huge part of your life. And that miracle being that would basically would it make you happier, you think? Or would it just make you feel accepted?
Maybe accepted.
Accepted. Okay. So that's kind of what you feel like you're struggling with now with your partner? Does that put a strain in your relationship, would you say?
Not so bad, but I mean, sometimes it does. I mean, there are moments where it does. I mean, when there's birthdays or things like that, I mean, of course it does, because it's like, well, this day I have to be with them, and because it's so and so's birthday, and we kind of already have a silent understanding of you're not welcome. To put it that way, but yeah.
Okay. So, if this miracle were to happen, you're stating that you would be straight within in order to feel accepted by your family.
Right.
Is that correct? Okay.
That's correct.
Well, it sounds to me ultimately what is very important to you is the acceptance that you're seeking from your family, that maybe you feel like you weren't getting, and that maybe if they were accepting of you, then you would be happier and would be able to have maybe not such a restrained relationship.
Right. I mean, right now it's only my mother. I understand it's only one person, but I mean,
Which is a very important part of your life.
Right. And not only that, I mean, when I first started coming out, I knew there was going to be, comments here and there, and I knew that it probably wasn't easy for my siblings either to accept it. I mean, some were easier than others, but, at the end of the day, I feel like they kind of accepted me. I mean, so far, they've shown that they have, so.
Yeah. So, let's just talk a little bit about maybe within the last month. Were there times where you felt accepted by your family? And what do you think was different within those times?
I would say within the last month, yeah. I just had my birthday, so I had a birthday party, or a surprise birthday party, and the fact that my siblings were there and friends were there, it was a great feeling actually. I kind of had an idea that there was going to be a surprise party because of the way that my partner was acting, but to open your eyes and actually see your siblings there, I mean, it's a totally different feeling. And I felt like that was a moment of, whether they were there just because, they were invited or not, it's kind of felt like you were being accepted for who you are.
Who you are, yeah. And I bet that was a great feeling for you.
It was.
Yeah. So I guess what I'm hearing is that once your family is more accepting of your relationship and is willing to be a part of your life with your current partner, that brings a lot of joy and happiness to you, and a lot of comfort and a lot of accepting feelings. That is ultimately what I feel like you're seeking.
Yeah, I mean, he we all have our ways, and he's not very easy sometimes either, but, for him to be also accepted, and for both of us to be, or for my family to be okay with me and him being together or in the same room, I mean, that to me is great.
Yeah, okay. So, what are some things that you're maybe willing to try to maybe get that feeling that you felt when you, like you mentioned, your gathering with your birthday?
I think, like I mentioned before, maybe more gatherings, where obviously it's not, my mom's not going to be able to be included, but, maybe, some dinners here and there. I mean, it's little things, to where, like I said, he can feel like my part of the family is also, involved, I think that would be great.
Okay. So what I'm hearing is that you feel like you're happier when your family is included in some of these events. And when this happens is when your family is present within your life and with your partner.
Right. I mean, a lot of the things that I do with him, I mean, only include his family or his side, and rarely or never it includes my side of the family. I mean, it's mostly them, and obviously, I want my family members also involved. A lot of the times I have to decline an invitation from my own family because I have to spend time with because I want to spend that either that holiday or that day with him, but it has to be with his family and it can't be with my family. So, and I know that in the eyes of my family, it's always like, oh, you're never going to be with us, you're never going to be with us, but it's not about that. It's about I have to say no to you guys because I also have to spend time with who is currently my partner, and unfortunately my family has not been able to be a part of that.
Yeah. So at this point in your life, just categorizing, what are the 5 most important things in your life right now, would you say?
Like I've mentioned before, my number one important thing right now would be my family. My mother and my siblings. I mean, that is my number one important thing. I would say secondly my partner. I mean, regardless of what we go through, I mean, he is very important in my life. Third, regardless of the lifestyle that I live or the sexual orientation that I have, I mean, I've always had so much respect and admiration and love for God. Even though I grew up in a church where they were very strict and gay people this and gay people that, I mean, only I know what God has done in my life. So regardless if I'm gay or not, I still have that respect and admiration and love for God. Maybe, let me rephrase that, maybe I should say he's first and then my family and then my partner. And that was 3. Number 4, I would have to say, number 4, I would have to say I have 2 nieces and nephews that are on their way that I'm very excited about. Number 5, I would have to say just close friends that I have around me. I mean, it's not a lot, but I have a few.
Okay. Well, those all sound like excellent comments and suggestions you're making there. It sounds like you have a clear vision as to who is important in your life and who you're willing to make this sacrifice and change for, and ultimately why you're here, right? Because you're trying to better those relationships. And I guess this gets me to my next question is, who are those people in your life that would maybe help you make those changing behaviors, or maybe, like we talked about, allow you to feel accepted? Who do you think are those people that are going to help you? Maybe support you with your decisions and different things that you're willing to try.
Right. Well, I mean, at this point, since we're talking about family and all that and being accepted, I feel like it really falls on me and on my siblings. I would have to say, because like I mentioned before, there's really nowhere we're gonna get with my mother, but I mean, I would have to say that it would fall on them.
On your brother, okay, on your siblings. Okay, so it sounds to me like, and again, correct me if I'm wrong, that you're the people that are going to be there for you in order to help you make those changes, or maybe try some of those things that we were talking about earlier, is going to fall on your brothers and sisters.
Right.
And their full support. Have you tried talking to them about maybe implementing some of these things we talked about?
No, not really. It's funny how it kind of just all came to place where me coming out, it wasn't like me sitting down and talking to them really. I mean, I did it with my sister because she was going through some stuff, but as far as my other two siblings, it wasn't really about that. It was just kind of like as time went by, they kind of just figured it out either on their own or by friends, or eventually with social media, what I would post and what I would not post. I think that's kind of like how I was okay with it. I mean, yeah, I kind of would have liked to sit down and talk about it, but then there was a point where it's like, well, yep, I mean, for what? When they kind of already know, like, why bring it up?
Yeah. So what I'm hearing you say is that you never really sat down and had a full conversation with your siblings stating, hey, this is my sexual orientation. And have you introduced maybe your partner to that?
I have. Yeah, actually I have. But no, we never really had that conversation where we sat down and it crossed my mind like back a few years back when I first started coming down. I mean, yeah, it crossed my mind. I want to talk to them and I want to come out to them, but I mean, as like I said, as time went by, I kind of knew they already knew, so it was kind of like